Welcome back to Legends with Derka, where today we are going to take a quick look at the Tier 4 American Premium Destroyer, USS Hill. She is very comparable to the Farragut at the tech tree, so if you like that gameplay style, this ship could be for you. So without wasting any more time, let's go check her out. Alright, so like usual, we will talk about the ship setup, compare her a little bit to the Farragut, her sister ship, and then look at some gameplay. Speaking of, the first game that we took the Hill out, we ended up with a Kraken, so that will be playing in the background here while we go through our review. Now the ship's setup, pretty simple. I would recommend playing her as a gunboat, so whoever your American gunboat captain is, Halsey, Mordoff, Burke, throw them on here as well as Perceptive in slot 3 and go nuts. I would take Perceptive. I think it's one of the more important skills for you to have on a gunboat and a destroyer hunter, so it would be very useful to you. Aiming systems mod 1 will go in slot 1. Now the inspirations. I generally use Bey for concealment, and mostly on this build I would also use Billy Sims, but this is a tier 4, so you won't see a ton of benefit out of that as opposed to maybe a tier 7 or a legendary ship. I think he adds about 1500 HP, so some good runner-ups for you could include Philip Vian or Violet, and I'll explain more on that a little bit later. You could use Burke, Sano, Ding, Rushang. I mean, there are so many different ways. Anything basically to give you a little bit of leg up in destroyer fights. So for comparing her, the main ship that you'd really want to compare to is the tech tree Farragut. They are very, very similar ships. Both have 5 127mm American guns. 1800 shell damage, 5% fire chance, pretty typical. It's kind of what we're used to. Great damage output with a fast reload. On Hill, 4.2 seconds. It's just slightly slower than the Farragut. The torpedoes are very short range, 5.5 kilometers. So stealth torping is going to be pretty difficult to do in these ships. You can throw Gleaves on there and torpedo Safari, and when you do, the range goes up to about 6.4 kilometers. So you could make it work, but I'm just guessing that you're going to have a lot more fun if you play her as a gunboat. Hill has slightly more HP than the Farragut, along with the slower gun reload time, like we talked about, and the other key differences between them are their torpedo configurations. The Farragut's is 2x4, and on the Hill it's 3x3, but you just have to keep in mind that only one of them is a center-mounted torpedo set, and the other ones are on the side of the ship, so you will have to turn completely to fire all 9 torpedoes. You can do a salvo of 6 and then turn around and fire 3 more. The gameplay style. It's an American destroyer and their gameplay is really quite simple. They are very good at getting in close and fighting at point-blank range with other destroyers. And as an American gunboat, that would be your #1 goal in life. Hunt and kill other DDs. Hill is pretty good at this and at contesting caps. Especially being a tier 4, there are no radar cruisers to really spoil your fun besides Budyoni if you get up tiered at tier 5, so you can be pretty aggressive running around the map, hunting destroyers, doing hood stuff. Domination is very, very fun for these destroyers. You're pretty much guaranteed some early fights or early action with enemy destroyers. And so on that note, let's go ahead and cut over to kind of a perfect example of how you could set up your next encounter in domination. Now here very early on, we sail straight to the cap and position ourselves so that we could make a quick escape if something goes wrong or if I just kind of get overwhelmed. The Soviet party sausage or war canoe, whatever you want to call it, is the first to be spotted, and we very simply open up and start letting him have it. Worth pointing out here on Hill, you have 5 turrets, yes. The forward firing angle for the middle turret though is terrible. It is very, very, very bad. So you're going to have much better luck at getting all of your guns to fire if you are firing rearwards, kind of over the rear of your ship. Now things kind of heated up pretty quickly here, so we do end up smoking in this fight. The Idhotnik had already fired his guns, and we had a friendly ship over to the side that could keep him spotted. Please don't ever be that player that sails up in front of your team into a cap and then completely smokes everything off and then doesn't continue spotting for their team. You can blind everyone and make it very difficult for your team to do anything on that flank. So if you smoke up and no one else is spotting, no one's in front of you, there's no aircraft, then you shouldn't sit in your smoke screen. You should continue on and try to spot for your team. So earlier we mentioned 5.5 kilometers for the torp range. It's not very good, but if you're playing defensively, then you can have a decent time of hitting ships that are sailing towards you. So let's check back in at our normal game, and it's on straight. This is truly one of my favorite maps, and I never get to play it because I'm usually not down here at these lower tiers, but it's close quarters, usually pretty quick fighting, not a bunch of open ocean. You can, I don't know, it's just one of my favorite maps. One of the main things that I wanted to point out about my particular American gunboat style is not being afraid to shoot the guns. A lot of people will only ever fire their destroyer guns if they are sitting in their smokescreen, behind an island, or something similar. But especially at these low tiers, maybe don't be as afraid to fire your guns. As long as you're being smart about who you're engaging, and you are continually playing with the rudder or the throttle to try to throw people's shots off, there is nothing wrong with shooting. And it's one of the reasons I think Louis Violet could be a decent choice. He, as an inspiration, will reduce your detection time after firing your guns, so it can help you disappear more quickly and not take as many return shots. This hit and run style of open water gunboating can work quite well for these American destroyers. And again, not to be mean, but you can possibly get away with a lot more at tier 4 than in the higher tiers. Most experienced players don't hang around these lower levels. Of course, getting in smoke and farming damage like most typically do in American destroyers works just fine. I would just make sure that all of the other more important work is done for your team, such as spotting, killing destroyers, taking caps, or things like that. That is what's going to win games, not necessarily farming a battleship for 30 or 40,000 damage. That's very time consuming with these low fire chance guns. And yeah, I think you could be more beneficial doing other things. Now, speaking of destroyer hunting, here we are in this game talking about it, and I haven't killed any destroyers. First of all, if we had had one on our flank to fight, we definitely would have got to try to take him down or die trying. But I wanted to clear out the flank before moving in the middle to take on the Farragut or the Pan-Asian destroyer, which is somewhere else roaming around the map. And as we kept pushing forward, I had the opportunity to kill the carrier, and I just couldn't pass that up. He very easily could have kept me spotted or in trouble most of the game, so getting him out of the match was very important. Speaking of that, the AA rating of the Hill is 38, and that's actually the best AA rating of any tier 4 destroyer that I saw. So you can be quite a nuisance to enemy carriers who don't respect you and who decide to keep focusing on you, so on and so forth. I suppose if you really wanted to, if you hate carriers that much and you seem to be getting in lots of carrier matches, you could run the AA guns mods in slot 1 to increase the range by 20%, but I think you're probably going to want that 7% dispersion for the guns. It makes a big difference. So back to this game, we are actually down on ships and things are looking like it could be kind of a toss-up, which is totally fine with me. I don't know about you guys, but more and more lately, I feel like I've been getting in matches that are completely one-sided, either for the red team or for the blue team. And I guess I don't care which. Sometimes I'd rather be on the losing team. It's, to me, just as boring to clear your flank, look over, and then the game's over, or not even get to clear your flank if they lemming train to another spawn. Let me know what you guys think. Have you been running into that more? Am I losing my mind? Am I don't know, being a glass is half empty kind of guy? But it's been bugging me. It's been driving me nuts, and I hope it's not an indication of the state of the game or things to come. So back to this gameplay. Since no one was really coming over here to fight with us and they were kind of heading towards our base, I thought it best just to go ahead and get on their base, give the enemies some incentive to come this way, and if nothing else, I can just smoke up cap and win. We're finally getting some damage on the enemy Farragut, and I definitely respect that boat. I have played the Farragut a lot, and I'm going to try to be careful when I engage him. And the best thing I can think to do is let's just flip back over this way, get the guns facing rearwards, and hopefully get to engage him again. The Pan-Asian destroyer I know is somewhere lurking around here as well, so I'm hoping just to be able to kind of gun them down one at a time. When it comes to finding, fighting, running away from whatever enemy destroyers, Twist and Track or Perceptive shows just how important it is, and if you don't know, that's kind of the little half moon shaped gray icon in our screen, and it is pointing to the nearest ship. And I know it's not the Farragut, it's either the Farragut or the Pan-Asian DD, and sure enough, there he is. So I think that skill really is one of the most important ones you could have on a DD hunter. The information it provides is just way too valuable to not have. It's too helpful. So once again, we are just shooting out here in the middle of the ocean, and that is fine. Again, keep playing with the throttle, go forwards, go backwards, kind of time when they're going to shoot you, and adjust your throttle, and you can dodge a lot of the enemy shells. Also, again, you can see the middle turret. We have it online here. And in other instances, when I was kind of facing my bow towards the enemy, you probably noticed that that turret was never online. So keep that in mind when playing the Hill middle turret. When you're shooting rearwards, it's a lot better. So we are down to the Farragut, and if we get him off the board, this should be pretty easy to clean up the win here. Overall, I think the Hill is pretty fun. It's a pretty great ship. To be honest though, if you already have the Farragut, I don't see much more point in having the Hill. They are just too similar to pay for one over the other. The torp configuration doesn't really offer any advantages, especially in a gunboat. You do have slightly better top speed in the Hill, health, and AA, but unless you're super serious about tier 4, I'm not sure that it really matters. I am curious, of course, what you guys think, so be sure to let me know in the comment section down below. And with that, I will catch you guys in the next video. See ya.